Hello, everyone. George is here, and today we're going to talk about a very, very important topic that's literally it's very interesting and something that I went through my journey. And I'm so happy to have Colin today with me to talk also about his experience about the greatest topic I think that we call the intuition, how we can use that in business, how we can use that in life, and literally when you apply it in your life, in your business, how you can use it to help other people through your business, through anything that you are doing, if you are doing coaching or just like selling products. Hello, Colin. How are you?
I'm very, very good, George. I'm very honored to be here. I'm a very, very big fan of your content. I think that we share a lot in common in terms of thinking, in terms of how we're applying this conscious type technologies, and including, of course, big one being intuition, but also how we're using that to sort of develop a new version or a new breed of entrepreneur, and also a new model for marketing and business. And I've been following your content, and just resonates all the time. So I'm very happy that we're doing this.
Excellent. Like I'm super happy because we had some discussions a couple times, and it's so like I it makes me like super happy because it took me years just to understand what I understand right now. And when I see people they are sharing the same knowledge, they are on the same level of consciousness, I say like this is like something is happening, something is really changing in this world. And with that being said, literally, we're going to see a different world like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, instead of just like seeing all the burdens, wars, and complications of the news, bad news, and all those kind of things. So, just to start off, like, why you don't introduce yourself, what you do, what kind of mission that you are at? Especially I see like what you do on the Facebook group, the Renaissance. It is an excellent group, and we can put the information in the comment section, so even people who are interested and who you think or they think they can belong to this kind of movement, they can also join. So I will leave it to you to introduce yourself, what you do, what is the mission and the purpose that you are at.
So my journey kind of started in 2007 as an entrepreneur. I was 24 years old. I came to Romania from England after having finished my studies. And I was purely an opportunistic entrepreneur at the time. My big goal was to make millions as fast as possible, probably like a lot of entrepreneurs start out. And I was basically setting up real estate funds in Romania at a time when money was just flowing and everything was very, very easy. It was one big party, basically. It was kind of like Disneyland. And the luckiest thing that ever happened to me, George, was when the crash of 2009 came. And suddenly I was 26 years old, 25 years old at the time. I had raised 6 million euros, and the fund was worth 25 million euros, the net asset value of the fund. And then suddenly overnight with the real estate crash, it was worth 2 million.
No.
And I think that that was probably one of the most luckiest things that happened to me personally. Of course, not the investors, but to me personally, because it forced me to look around the country and to kind of look for a different direction. That was a family business that we were running at the time, and I went on my own and I created my first software company and also digital marketing agency. And very, very quickly, we pretty much doubled every year in team size and revenue. It was good timing. It was also, I suppose, a lot of hard work. And we were serving, after 4 years, clients such as, well, you might not have them over in Canada, but Lidl, which is one of the biggest retailers in all of Europe, supermarkets, the BBC, the London Olympics, Brico Dépôt, which is a huge DIY store here in all over Europe, Samsung, and a whole bunch of others. And in 2014, I was just about to receive and sign version 3 of a very, very large product that we were running for one of our largest anchor clients. And just as in big corporations happen, management changes, right? You don't really have control over that. So we had just finished doing all the scoping. We had just finished doing a lot of the work, a good portion of the work. And then suddenly I was kind of confronted with the new marketing director who said to me, Colin, thank you for your service, but we're going with someone else, a cheaper basically company to do the maintenance for you. They weren't even a creative agency or a software company. How do I know? I was sitting next to them and they handed over me their card and they were just there for the maintenance basically. So that literally and metaphorically broke my heart because I had put so much soul and passion into this game at the time. And that basically led to me having let's say very, very big depression and also hypertension in one of my arteries. The doctor said that I had basically a little bit of scar tissue because of all the pressure I put on myself. So it was a good metaphor for being heartbroken, actually. And again, that was an amazing, fortunate event despite all the pain, because it forced me to want to change. And that's when I discovered mindfulness. And that took me on this journey of inward exploration.
Wow.
And slowly, yeah, I basically, I started to unravel everything that I had found not to be true anymore. And one big question I had at the time, George, was if I was so depressed, am I the only one that's experiencing this? Because I realized through mindfulness that depression is in fact your intuition telling you that you are living out of alignment with your values and your
This is
beliefs.
this is what I wanted to ask you. Like, do you think that intuition worked at that time to push you to go that road in order to become the person you are at right now?
Yeah, intuition is always helping you. It's always pushing you. It's showing you through all your daily triggers, your arguments, the things that make you feel empty, abandoned, used, all those things. That's just your intuition in reverse, actually, because most people, they associate intuition with having instant knowledge to what is best for you, making the best decisions and stepping into better
Having
alignment
the
and all that.
information. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So what is your definition for intuition? Like, people, they may heard about intuition a lot, and maybe sometimes some words like mindfulness, intuition, meditation, like those kind of words are overused in the market, and sometimes there's like misusing of those terminology. Like, how we
yeah.
can put intuition in a way that people understand, they can relate to, so they can start making the action steps they should be making in order to start evolving, transforming, changing the way they deal with their own self and their own life.
Well, it's a very, very good question. If you look at the word intuition, it literally, if you look at basically how it's constructed, it's in and tuition. So it's your internal learning system.
So,
So we have of course our minds, or rather our brains, and our brains are very good at helping us solve individual problems. If you pose a question to your mind, or your brain rather, it is a perfect mechanism for understanding how to put together a plan and get your objective solved. But how do you know if that objective is the best possible objective for you? If it's going to bring you the highest joy, the most excitement, the most inspiration, because it's aligned with who you truly and deeply are. And what I mean by that is the sum of your beliefs, your values, and your unique expression that, depending on your belief system, but for me, it literally means sort of your soul signature, your soul expression, what you come here basically to express and experience. So if you, before putting that powerful brain to use, can sit back and ask yourself from this place where there are infinite potential, where there are infinite possibilities, where you will find infinite passion, because passion is a very powerful resource. But if you're putting your work, your being in places that remove you from your passion completely, then you're devoid of that extremely important life force. And I don't know about you, George, but what's more important, resources or resourcefulness?
oh yeah, like this is what we are trained, like as business owners. We are trained of or entrepreneurs or even coaches, we are trained to go on facts. Like we need numbers, we need to follow a business plan, we need to know our resources, we need to know everything. And when it comes to something unknown, we get scared, we get like in big pain. We say, this is not the way we should be doing it. We let's do it in the usual way. Let's do it as the other people are doing it in the same market or in the same industry. And I see this pattern over and over and over again. And what it all creates, it creates more competition. People are just like copy pasting each other, and you see that a lot in the accommodation and the restaurant like industry. You see one restaurant successful, and all of a sudden two, three, the same kind of restaurant pop up in the same neighborhood, and everybody is copy pasting because they prefer the comfort versus the unknown, the uncomfort, the maybe the painful, the painful way they may see it right now, but that will lead them to something like way greater than the thing they are having. So what we could tell people like entrepreneurs about like this this new type of how to tap on something, how to trust this unknown, how to trust, sometimes we call it the gut, but it is more than that. How to do that trust, just to step or having like this quick leap and something that creates a greater self, a greater business, a greater income, a greater family, a greater community. How we can do that?
Well, I think it's a good opportunity just to also continue on the second part of my journey where I started to use intuition and also make choices from this place, just as you described, where the choices are between, do I do the way that I'm accustomed to, familiar, and everyone shows me, and where there's a lot of steps. Maybe they're steps available and shown and known, and there's systems in place, but ultimately you end up copying others, doing more work, ending up burning yourself out? Or do you find ways to take those really big quantum leaps? Meaning, what I define as a quantum leap is an order of magnitude result as a result of taking very high, but very also scary and inspired action. If it doesn't scare the hell out of you, it means that you're not pushing yourself enough.
True.
So, I mean, just as a small analogy, but you know, if you just imagine a lady who wants to learn how to type faster, right? She's an assistant. She wants to learn how to type faster, and you ask her, why do you want to type faster? Well, because I want to be able to produce more copy. And I said, why do you want to produce more copy? Because I want to be able to get more money. And I'm like, okay, so why do you need the money? Because if I can make enough money, then I can have my mother move in with me because she's my last remaining relative, and I just want to enjoy having the time with her nearby. And so I asked, well, why don't you move over there? So it's that kind of level of
Yeah.
separating means from end results, right? The end result is what you truly want to experience. We're not basically doing business because we want to sit on Excels all day or put out sales funnels and do all those things. Those are a lot of excitement. They're fun. But the end result of what we're looking for is that feeling of empowerment, that feeling of triumph, that feeling of joy, and also abundance that we get once we receive the results of our labor. So the question then is, how can you step into that faster by taking bigger, more bolder steps that force you to embody that person you want to be? Because as you know, but actions are always congruent with your identity, right? So I will never do anything that is out of alignment with my identity. If I consider myself to be a decent marketer, but I'm still learning in the process, of course, I'm not going to go and push myself onto a worldwide stage and have a very big, bold message and dare to speak my truth over to the audiences, because it's not congruent with my identity. However, if that's what you really believe yourself to be, then that's the quantum leap for you to take. So I'm just going to go back very quickly to my story and tell people what I do, also for the context of this discussion. But after I unwound my company, or after I went through my depression, I asked myself, why am I depressed? And I realized because, I was doing advertising campaigns and work, which was out of alignment with my beliefs and my values. I was putting out, let's say, campaigns for mothers to believe that sausages are good for their kids, which I didn't believe in. Secondly, for example, I was allowing to work with a lot of toxic clients that didn't pay me well, did not respect my value, my worth, and all the hard work that I put in, because I put in a lot of hard work. I was always a service-oriented person. I want to deliver value, and I was slowly dying inside, because every little time I said yes to those things, I was killing my integrity.
But
And
let's stop at this point, because
yeah,
we get those at every single business, and at some point you always get those, and for some reasons you feel that something is attracting those toxic people to come to you for their own reasons, but sometimes we cannot justify that on our own. Like, from your experience, how did you deal with those toxic people? What you do with them? I say sometimes, like, send them to your competition. This is the best way you can do. But how to deal with toxic people in business, or how you did it in your previous experience?
well, stand up to your competition, but also stand up to your toxic clients.
Yes.
Your outer world is literally a reflection of your inner world, meaning when you say you attract clients that are toxic, it's because on some level you don't believe yourself to be worthy enough, and you don't believe yourself to be valuable enough. And if you keep taking actions that confirm that, such as attract or allowing toxic clients in your environment, then you'll forever be stuck in that program or that pattern of
So we
actions.
attract basically who we are, like our action talks about who we are, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about how that's so important in marketing, and this this transformation that's happening and can happen in marketing when you start marketing from your absolute values and your integrity. It's very, very powerful. But when you're out of alignment from that, you will attract things and experiences that are out of alignment with that. So that's what I was very, very tired with in my journey. And I said, okay, that's enough. So what I did was I fired some really, really big clients. I downsized my team from 30 to just 7 people, basically, because I realized that my choice of having 30 people was because I had this need of significance, and the metric of having a huge company seemed like I would experience that significance, but it wasn't about that. So I started making more conscious choices about how I wanted to run my business. People thought I was crazy at the time. And at one point also, I took a long sabbatical, about 2 years, where all I did was just search internally to try and remove all those inconsistencies. I was very lucky because I could afford to do that, but it was incredible transformation. During that time, I ended up really moving forward to what I really wanted. So I always felt like I had a message to share. And so I had the opportunity to just show up on my, and this is what happens, George, right? This is when the little miracles happen. But I literally put out the intention and cleared my space from clients, from people, from relationships that are not aligned with who I believe I am and I want to be. And very soon after that, I put out an intention for what could I do next that could really combine all my gifts, my lesson, my talents, my love, my value, and put that into a message that I could send out to the world. And literally the next day, I saw on my Facebook feed, one of my former employees put out a competition for a TEDx mic, open mic competition. And I said, okay,
Okay.
that's fine. And this is what happens, right? We'll talk about the metaphysics of it later, but literally that appeared in my radar. And of course I took it, right? I took the bold action. I took the quantum leap. I did the TED talk, the TEDx talk. It was a competition format. I actually ended up And it was also my very, very first public talk ever. So my first public talk was a TEDx talk. And I had basically, I won the competition. So I got first place from the voters in the audience. And that TED talk actually went on to gather a little bit over 10,000 views, which is not bad for your very, very first talk. So that's the power of what happens when you get aligned. Now, when that happens though, George, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's not all peaches and roses, okay? We don't want to give people that
Oh yeah,
impression. you
that's
will
true. And
you'll be
this
tested.
is the beauty. This is the beauty of the journey. Like people, they need to understand also. Like we are on this polarity of physical life. We want to enjoy both. Like we cannot be positive all the time. We cannot be sad all the time. We cannot keep making money all the time. We want to spend money at some point. So we want to enjoy the journey on both sides and being like creating the balance that you believe it works for you is the key of literally enjoying the transformation, enjoying the journey that you are at. Because we get lots of questions, I get lots of questions. Do I need to focus on money in business, or I want to focus on helping other people? And then money comes, and the contradiction, and all those things that comes to our head. And it took me a little bit while just to figure it out. So I want to discuss that point with you from your experience. Like the way I thought about it, I say, all right, money is everything related to our physical life, our survival. Then the transformation and the fulfillment and the change and the help, it happens on the elevated state of mind and being and feeling and all those kind of things that literally people wants them so bad. So to enjoy better life, to enjoy healthier life. So I started to say, you want to satisfy the survival. You cannot go in life with your physical body without food, without drinks, without sometimes sex, without all those needs that really your body wants. So in business, the fuel of your business, it's like your food is your fuel of your body. The fuel of your business is money. So you want to make money in order to grow, to contribute, to help more, to make that transformation and to impact like more the lives of more people. So what do you think about this point exactly, and how we can explain that to people? Because there's lots of confusion. Do I make more money? Do I focus on just like helping people? And so what is your take on that?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy you asked that question. So here's the thing. People who, and this happened to me as well, but people who go on a spiritual journey or a personal development journey ultimately arrive at the conclusion that one of the aims of life is to reduce suffering, your own, but also those around you. So a lot of people become service-led and mission-led and purpose-led, right? And that's a beautiful thing. However, in that, then the confusion arises, like you mentioned, which is that people often start associating money or physical pleasure as something wrong. And this happened to me, but for the first 2 years since I unwound my company, I did not want to work again in the marketing sphere. I wasn't even sure I wanted to be an entrepreneur anymore. I wanted to basically just share my message. But you can't just sit there shining on a shelf meditating all day, right?
Oh yeah.
Some people can. Some people it's their calling, right? But there will be something in you that pulls you to come back down to the physical plane, the material plane, because we are in fact souls that are in, or our bodies are rather in our souls wanting to have a physical experience. So the reason we're here from a metaphysical plane is because we want to have this physical experience. And that is basically the contrast of duality. And this plays out as a confusion also in entrepreneurs going forward too. So let's say what happened with me basically, George, was I said, okay, this meditation thing is not taking me anywhere. I'm starting to feel also uneasy where I once always felt bliss without moving, without doing anything. And I felt the calling to go back into the material world. And so when I went into the material world, then the journey sort of starts, which is, okay, I said, let's try this material world thing. And I entered into a startup and worked as a business developer. It did not work out because it was a misalignment of values, no results. The team was great. I was great. They're all good people, but we just did not have the same values. So that didn't work out pretty fast. So then I was sitting there again. I was like, okay, what do I want to do? How do I combine this better, right? How do I combine my need for impact and not just for money, which was what that startup was kind of about, let's say. Not entirely, of course, but more so towards that. And I was again in conflict, right? I was again in this indecisiveness. I was again feeling depressed, and then I went to this conference organized by Harv Ecker's company or team.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if you know Harv Eker.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Harv Eker, really, really powerful guy. Anyone in the audience watching, he wrote a book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and it's all about the spiritual laws or the conscientious laws of money. And so it was a very, very powerful event. And what I had realized was that I had transferred my, let's say, feelings of guilt that I might have carried from certain other business decisions onto and projected it onto what I believed money was, right? So I had created this confusion where money in my, like I was trying to make money, but at the same time, I had this resistance because I thought that money was kind of bad and that it led to these kind of bad actions. And in that particular seminar, that weekend, very, very intensive, I kind of learned that money and all money is basically is just a resource. And it's a resource that allows you to express more of who you are. If you do feel more guilty, or if you do, I don't know, have these, if you project basically things and you feel like, I don't know, you feel perhaps a little bit cheated out of life and you have this kind of vindictive behavior, then you will use money for control, right? On the other hand, though, if you are very generous, if you are very caring, then money is just an amazing resource for you to play at the ultimate level that you want to, right?
So
So now,
basically, it amplify who you are.
yeah, it amplifies. Yeah, it's a very nice way of putting it, George.
Yeah.
So I made that decision to, how can I create something that allows me to pull in the resources to amplify more of who I am? Now, the story doesn't end just there too quickly, because one of the things I realized I was not doing was taking action. And so what I did after that event was, I really wanted to be a coach. And I said, okay, let me start with what I know. So I started coaching other digital agency owners and software company owners on how to scale their business. And then I was drawing them in to teach them about conscious business practices, about awareness, and about all these things that we're talking about. And in the very first months, it was crazy. Like, I think I had something like 16 clients in the very, very first month. And for the first 3 to 4 months, everything went really, really well. But then towards the end of the year, about month 6, it started to unravel again. And I was again finding myself like, what's going on? Why can't I get this right? Again, you know, this is the classic dilemma most people go through when they become more conscientious about business, is that they have this battle for alignment. But I had known better. I know that I had gone through this process before. So what I did was I decided to just stop again and just really, for this time, really work out what is my highest values, my highest beliefs, and how I can align my business towards that. And that's right before COVID actually hit, right? So I was sitting there and I spent a whole month basically with myself. I told clients I'm stopping for a while. I told my employees I'm stopping for a while. And that's basically when I created the idea for what I'm doing now, which is called Renaissance 2.0. And the idea basically is that, and this is basically as an inspiration for when COVID hit, I kind of was looking at what's going on in the world, and I kind of had this feeling like, we've been through this before in history. This is not the first time this is happening. And I was inspired to, and this is basically something that came to me intuitively. So I had this intuition to research the last Renaissance period, because it felt like that right now we're kind of ripe for a new renaissance. What I mean by that, the last renaissance came at the back of the Black Plague, right? Where something like half of Europe's population was wiped out. And this virus, you know, it didn't wipe out half of Europe's population, but it had the same effect, which was people back then and now had to stop to look inward to see where is humanity going. Now, another analogy or similarity with that period was that came at the back of 1,000 years of oppression or of a very kind of dogmatic rule of the church, right? The Catholic Church. So people were tired of the old way of doing things, where the view of life was if you repent for your sins and you live a very strict moral code, then the biggest opportunity for you is to die and go to heaven. That was the promise, right? So people were tired of that. And at the same time, you had, because of Europe's population being wiped out, a big drive for automation. So people were interested in technology. And from that, you had the invention of the printing press, Gutenberg's printing press. So now you could actually print books at volume and spread the information with the world. Well, that's kind of like the internet today, isn't it? You know, people can actually get access to all kind of information, and
Yes,
information
definitely.
gets to be spread. Now, there's one other component, two more components. Now, back then, because of the burning down of Constantinople, which was one of the major outposts and capitals of the Eastern world, in the libraries of Constantinople were some ancient Greek texts, philosophy texts from Aristotle, from Plato, from all these mathematicians, which were absent from Europe for over 500 years, which is why they call it the Dark Ages, right? There was this absence of knowledge. And that, because of the burning down of the library, traveled back to Western Europe for the first time in 500 years. So the culmination of all that actually gave birth to one of the most creative, one of the most inspirational periods, the Renaissance period, which literally laid the foundation of our modern civilization. It brought in humanist values, it brought in scientific thinking, it brought in new values, so to speak. And so this is kind of what my current project is about. It's called Renaissance 2.0. And there's the community aspect for it, the movement that we call. And the movement is for visionary entrepreneurs, experts, and coaches who are conscientious and purpose driven, who see the tectonic shifts happening in the world today as a beautiful opportunity to usher in new modes of being and new values, just like in the last Renaissance. One quick thing I have to mention is in the last Renaissance, if it wasn't for the capital provided by merchant families such as the Medici, who said, I'm going to house philosophers, artists, inventors, and the only caveat of my patronage is that you must communicate these new values. So my version of the Medici family
Love it,
is,
love it, love it.
yeah, my version of the Medici, or what the Medicis did is, we are all now our own Medicis, because back then capital was hard to come by, infrastructure was hard to come by, but entrepreneurs today can find clients anywhere they want to online. They can produce their own media. They can outsource. They can have all these different ways of scaling, basically. And the opportunity for entrepreneurs is, how can you use your media or your medium? Because George, 90% of all information is, is commercial or entertainment. So if these people became more conscientious, like what you're trying to do, right? What you're doing, what your mission is, if you make more conscious entrepreneurs, they can put out more conscious products and they can put out more conscious messages, and we can start this new renaissance
Change the
period.
consumption of information at least.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the movement part. And the last part is what I do for business is, while I was doing coaching for the agency owners and software company owners, there was I was very drawn to this idea that it's this opportunity to create something very scalable. I came from a business which was project by project basis, very big contracts, 100,000 euros upwards per client. But a very low predictability, right? So we were at the mercy of our clients all the time. And even though I had 30 employees, I was stressing my butt off about cash flow every single month, right? So the idea of creating a digital product that can scale was very, very appealing to me. So I did group coaching, I was doing digital programs. And then when I got burnt out, I kind of realized, and this is what you said, right? I kind of realized that I had just been following a formula. I'm following a formula that is the narrative of today in the coaching world. And it's a very, look, the principles are absolutely correct. Scalability helps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, it was not true to me, right? I had not made that decision from my highest place of intuition to know, will this bring me the most joy and satisfaction according to my beliefs? And I realized, George, this funny thing, that my anger and frustration of dealing with my former toxic clients had created a judgment in me that these kind of business relationships, very intimate, very one-on-one with few clients, was something that I never wanted to experience again. But what I realized when I actually sat and I got in contact with my intuition, and what I mean by this is the following, and maybe this is something that we can do also with the audience members just for a second. But if everyone just take a little deep breath right now, and on the exhale, just let go of your thoughts for the day. Just feel your weight of your body on your chair. And take one more deep breath. And on your exhale, I want you to just slowly imagine traveling in your mind through a tunnel where you can see some light at the end. And just keep going deeper and deeper into that tunnel. And as the light gets brighter and brighter, and as you stop in front of the tunnel and the light's the brightest, take one more deep breath. And I want you to just, as you pop through the light and you exhale, I want you to imagine that you've arrived at this room where your past, present, and future self all is unified and all the answers are in this place. And from this place, I want you to ask yourself the following question. If there were no limitations, if there were no boundaries, if there were no worries about how it was going to get done or what resources you would need to do it, what is the most exciting, joyful, blissful, empowering action you would like to take? And now let's just take another deep breath and slowly go back down that tunnel that we came from of light, and then back to your present self and into your chair. And now you can open your eyes. So when you create from this place, the kind of answers you get are incredibly, incredibly different. They might scare the hell out of you, and that's a good sign. But the idea is, if you can create from this place, which is your highest possible alignment, that is actually creating from a place of intuition, your internal tuition. And when I did that, I realized that rather than be guided by all my negative experiences of not wanting this and not wanting that, when I asked myself, what do I really want? It was really funny, but the answer was, I want to work extremely, extremely high touch, very intimately with my clients. And I want to work with the highest performers, the visionaries, and the people who share my highest values and beliefs, people who already have that level of awareness, that level of success. And what I do for them is I help them align their highest vision with their brand, with their message, and I help them attract high resonance clients, which we're going to talk about in a second, which allows them to charge 50,000, 100,000, 1 million without actually having to lose their flow, without having to go into this hustle lack mentality, because it's easy, because you're working with clients that the results can come with a lot of ease because they resonate with your highest self. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else. You don't have to pretend to posture in any sort of way. You get to be 100% yourself. So that is what I'm doing now. And I've come full circle where I do a very high-end branding experience and very, very custom marketing. Now that is my intuition. It's not for everyone, by the way.
But I want to recap on this exercise because that is super 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 powerful. I did it one time with like a group in one of my courses, and one client, she came back the second session. She said, "I just did it and I signed up 15 clients. Like I was struggling to get only one client, and I just did 15 in one shot." So can we recap like what is the exercise? How people can they can do it by themselves? We have people in different industries, not necessarily in the knowledge or coaching. We have people who have retail. They have restaurants. How they can tap on this exercise? If you can just maybe summarize it, how they can do it by themselves, and then also if they are selling tangible products like food or shirts or jewelry, how they can use the knowledge, the information that they have accumulated and their experience and their skills, so they can use that toward the vision, the values that they want to grow. Because sometimes for some of them, it's hard to connect a food dish, a jewelry piece with a an elevated value or a mission or something. How we can do that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, George. So it starts from this. The reason why I say, and when you go into whatever method you have to connect with yourself, to go to that place of stillness that we get to in meditation. Now, there's a few other little technical aspects around that, but it doesn't matter whether how advanced or not you are. It requires that you basically quiet your mind, because your mind already is filled with content, ideas, and stories of how they think it should be. And although the mind is very, very powerful and can help you solve many, many things, it's also, in a way, also your worst enemy.
Noisy.
It's noisy. If you pose a question from a place of lack, meaning, how do I make more money? You're kind of basically implying to yourself that
I don't
you
know.
don't have access to resources or money, and that, you know, you're in a struggle basically. So how can you create something that unique? And I'm talking more about uniqueness, right? There is also the element of how can we do an elevated or create from a place of the most elevated values, beliefs that you have. But it's also about being 100% or having 100% integrity with what makes you you, and what your biggest, most daring desires once was. But through the process of becoming an entrepreneur or living in this world, you've just been told, no, 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 that's not possible. And you've just formulated this small version of yourself. And that version actually is the illusion and the lie, right? That's the version that the mind likes to hang on to because it's safe. He says, okay, these are the parameters. If you don't venture off here, we'll be okay. We might struggle a little bit, but we'll stay in our comfortable place with our comfortable home, with our comfortable friends and all those kind of things. Now, the exercise allows us to quiet that part, let the mind kind of leave for a little bit, and to really, really reconnect. And our method is actually called the in essence method, because you're not adding anything. You're not adding more ideas. Everything that is the masterpiece, which is you already have within you. It's like a sculptor. He's not adding more clay. He's actually removing clay slowly and feeling the clay until eventually the essence is revealed. So that is the process of the meditation part. And in our method, we have to firstly align ourselves with and recognize what is our own individual frequency of truth. How does truth feel like to you? And when I mean truth, I don't mean, yeah, I agree with that on a mental level, but never take any action. I mean truth that when it hits your body and lands, it's expansive. You feel it all over your cells, and it's just it's a frequency basically that's unique to you. So you start there, and now from this place, you have to now examine and re-examine everything. So what I mean by this, let's take your example of a restaurant. And you said very rightly so, and it's not just a restaurant, it's every business right now. There's so much information out there. We are past the information age, and we're in the age where information is just a commodity. And the information out there is mainly catering to your mind, your left brain, basically, your that identity, basically, and it's very noisy, and people are tired of it now. That's why people are switching off. They can't watch basically anymore. They're very distracted. So we need to turn that off, basically. And when you have to recreate everything, let's say that you're a restaurant, right? And it's very tempting to say, okay, look, McDonald's is a great formula. The show of MasterChef has a great formula, or whatever one of those Michelin star chefs have, right? And it's very easy to say, okay, look, if I follow that, if I copy that, then I will have success, because that is the model of success. And I'm not saying ignore the fundamentals. You can't have a restaurant without the foundation structure, a menu, and all those things. Well, maybe you might have one without a menu, but you can't have without the basics and the structure.
True.
But the question then is, when you started as a restaurateur, right, was your goal to create something that just resembles a McDonald's or the next chef that you admire? Or was your dream really to create a totally unique experience, as multi-sensorial experience, a testament to your brand, to your, to what you really wanted to express? And I think if you ask honestly, most people, of course, never wanted to just copy someone else. They all had a secret desire to build something meaningful. We all have an internal drive for meaning, don't we, George? I think it's one of the basic fundamental principles of the human experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in this day and age, I think also what's happening in the world is we're going through a huge spiritual and identity crisis because we lack meaning. Meaning is not a value that is very much admired or conserved in our world today. So it's really connecting yourself back to that very, very personal meaning and that place of truth, and then touching every aspect of your business from there.
I love that this discussion. Like, I don't want that to end today. So let's recap for the restaurant business owner, because what applies for a restaurant, it applies for a retail shop, it applies for every single competitive market, business, and industry. So literally right now, as we know, I was in the restaurant business, and it is super stressful. And when you are under stress, you cannot even like think, and you feel like paralyzed mentally, emotionally. You cannot move forward with your life, with your business. So literally, how the restaurant business owner or any other entrepreneurs in different industries and markets, they can use this exercise at least to calm down this noise in their mind, so they can start tapping on something they didn't even experience. They don't know what's coming yet. So if I can summarize it this way, and correct me if I'm wrong. So as a business owner, as a restaurant owner, what I can do, maybe early morning before I go to the restaurant, I can do this exercise, the breathing exercise. I start visualize what I want to be or where I should be with my business, my mission. And there's no right and wrong, especially at the beginning. We are learning, and it gets better. Like every single day, we apply this exercise. And then after that, the no's start to calm down. Now we start to tap more on opportunity. We start to see more opportunities. Is it like those three steps? Is it something like the business owners they should do every single day, so they can grow, they can change their circumstances, not only for them but also for the employees?
Yeah, that's I like very much how you frame also so that it's precise, because it's not a precise thing. It's a very, you're tapping into your unconscious mind, right? But I think the steps that you mentioned are absolutely true. It's have your practice that allows you to quiet your mind. And once the mind is quieted and you're in your body, actually, right? The feeling is you're grounded. You feel in your body, and that's kind of another misconception that spirituality is about being up here. It's
Something
not.
going somewhere.
If you see, for example, heavyweight boxers, top athletes, they're very embodied, right? They feel movement. They have a grace about them because they're in very connected to their bodies. And so once you connect and then you're in your body through breathing, through meditation, name your pick. There's so many exercises. Then it is about using many different forms of visualization, of of visualization, I guess, could summarize it. There's other types which I don't want to go into right now. But and what you're really visualizing is, and here's a tip basically for people is, you're not you're visualizing the end result. You're visualizing what you really want to experience, right? If you want to experience an abundance of clients who are flocking into your restaurant because they love exactly what you have to serve and they don't want it from anywhere else, right? And you start to embody that feeling of, you know, absolute uniqueness and creativity and desire from people because you are creating from the most joyous place, and you're creating that multisensorial experience that people are just transformed as soon as they enter the restaurant, let alone before they even start to eat. And you start to feel what that feels like in your body, the emotions of what that feels like in your body. You're going to come up with a lot more creative solutions, and you're not going to be worrying about, okay, of course, you're going to have to deal with the logistics of, did deliveries get made? Are we making the cash flow? All those kind of things. But all of a sudden, now you have access to more creative ideas, more inspired ideas, right? Um, it goes back to that idea that we talked about, which is what do you want more, resources or resourcefulness, right? The most successful people in the world, the most happiest people in the world, they are tapped into, and they're very, very attuned to the fact that we have infinite resources and we are the source of infinite resources. We are the source of infinite love, infinite power, because we can generate it anytime we want to from within, and that just creates opportunities. Where once I might see a problem, suddenly I see a client who might be complaining about the consistency of the dish, that leads to an idea of, well, why don't you make a very, very unique disc based on his complaints or whatever, so you start to think very, very differently, right?
No, that's beautiful, and I want to assure people that literally, it's true that we are talking about a little bit spirituality and things like that, but those become the core and the foundation of science today, and this is the science that we have not been able to learn at school, and schools, they are not teaching this kind of science yet. So I want to assure that the discussion that we are talking about is has the spirituality component, but now it is proven in science, because I had this analytical mind. My mind was like super tough on me. And I remember the first time I heard about meditation, and it came to my mind that meditation is for people, for monks who fly above the ground, and all those like things that we see in the movies. And I lost the sense of it for 4 years, more than 10 years. I lose it in just like not me understanding how I can use the power of mindfulness, spirituality, meditation, how I can apply that in my life, in my business, until I started to learn that from Dr. Joe Dispenza, the neuroscientist, the scientist, like Dr. Bruce Lipton. And when I start to see the facts in science, I started to say, all right, there's something I have to follow. There's something I have to learn right now. And I guess lots of business owners, they get busy so much in the science of running their business, and they are missing on the component that literally the science of running a business has to have those components. But we didn't learn that at school. We didn't learn that in the business degree that we've got at a university. So literally, what we are sharing, what you are like the exercise that you are sharing, Colin, that is proven in science. That is the foundation of neuroscience today. We are not just talking about mindfulness and spirituality, about a component that comes from outside this world, and we try to apply it. It is within us. It is us. This is how we function. So when we apply those exercises, when you do the breathing, when you do the visualization, when you start tapping on those opportunity, on the intuition and everything that we are covering in this episode today, it becomes like this is the pure thing that literally every single business owner, they have to apply, or at least to not to have. We're not pushing anyone, but at least to start thinking like there are a new science of running a business, a new science of running our life.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the most successful athletes and more the most successful entrepreneurs, you'll find that what separates them is this idea that mindset actually is way more important than all the rest and all the actions. So yeah, it's about mindset, but as we're getting more intricate about the science behind it, like you said, and also people are experiencing at a more deeper level some of these tools, I consider them technologies. I call it the technology of intuition, or technology of spirituality. And just to go back to the analogy of the Renaissance, the last Renaissance was about reintroducing the ancient wisdom of Greek philosophers back to the West. So the knowledge came from the West. This Renaissance, or this new era, is about bringing back the knowledge of the East, or the esoteric knowledge. And this esoteric knowledge was, and it's been practiced in places like India and in the East for thousands and thousands of years, right? They have entire volumes and practices. And what's funny is that, you know, the science that you refer to is only just confirming all that. So these people
Sure.
lived it, practiced it. Um, and now suddenly this information is coming back to our society. And this is why you see a lot of people who are much more open to this, to these kind of practices and to these kind of ideas. Now, I have to admit, my process was like this. I would love to tell you, yes, I study the science and I can validate the science, but I am not so interested in the science myself, right? For people that have that kind of brain and need to have that validated, I know that it's very interesting and important for them. But for me, you have to understand, George, that when I discovered mindfulness, I literally felt like almost like I wanted to die, basically, because I was so depressed. I was so misaligned. I had no energy. I was drained. I was tired of everything. And I was literally wanting to give up. And the person who introduced mindfulness to me was actually a successful entrepreneur that I had known. So if it wasn't for him, I would have been like you know, and I thought meditation was woo-woo, was for people that basically don't live in reality.
Yeah, out of this world.
Yeah, out of this world. But you know what? So he gave me the example to do that. And at my mind at that point was at the following. I said to myself, you know what? If this is just an illusion, but it allows me to have a better life, then I accept the illusion to have a much better life, because I was in so much pain that I did not like the alternative, right? And I guess in terms of science, you might call this the placebo effect,
It is. And
which
I
is,
mentioned, but like I mentioned the science component just to tell people, because we have
yes,
people from different backgrounds today,
I'm happy
and
you do that.
some people, they like we come from different, even like level of awareness. So some people, they still have like this kind of strong analytical mind. They only believe in science, they only believe in facts. So how we can introduce the same concept to them so we can raise the level of awareness, and they start to experience what we have experienced. The journey took me more than 15 years just to get where I want to be today. So I say how I can summarize those 15 years, how I can shrink those for 15 years, maybe if I can just like one day to tell people like this is how you can do it right now.
I think you're doing also really great work there, George. Again, like it comes down to how comfortable you are in your belief systems and where you are at, and having the integrity to say, I want to serve from here. And this can take us now to the whole idea about how you can have more effective marketing. But if you look at the landscape of marketing today, it's completely crowded with information everywhere. It's very, very hard. And as you said, you just have to look at people's Facebook pages. I help coaches who help
So
coaches to help coaches, and all that kind of stuff. I was one of it, and it makes sense. It's a good formula in
I wrote
some.
it more than 100 times.
That's what caught my attention about your posts
Yeah.
when you were calling out this, and also Sarah, who's watching. Actually, I noticed Sarah did a little comment. She also mentioned about a very, very big coaching program right now that has, I think, 500,000 students. I won't mention any names, but by very, very famous coaches. And her comment was, I don't think that this idea that you can niche down can sustain anymore. How many people want to buy courses about grooming dogs, right? Now, okay, there is a market for that. But what I'm saying is we are past that stage, and now it requires a different level of sophistication. And the good news is, though, this level of sophistication only requires that you just look inward more intently and more closely. And because here's the thing, right? When you start to communicate from a place of authenticity, now people are going to ask, what does that even mean? I posted about authenticity 3 years ago, and I said, authenticity is the future of marketing. And I posted it at a Facebook ads group, and I had 100 comments saying that I'm a moron. Who's this guy? We stand against it. People, I had some death threats. They were just in humor. And I just want to say that that's a good sign. That's a good sign that you are saying
Shaking the
something.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So instead of the niche market, like you just mentioned something like super important. I don't want to pass all that knowledge like that.
I
The
appreciate
niche
you.
market, the niche market, how people they can think, because we think that I created an offer, a product, a solution for a specific problem in this niche market, and all of a sudden, the next day, 100 people copy me. 100 people they are doing maybe the same thing. So literally, how people, how business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, they can see, they can change this kind of what you are mentioning about the niche markets. What is the alternative, what they can apply literally today to start tapping on new opportunities?
Okay, there's three things there. Um, on the surface level, it's your brand. Your brand is the ultimate differentiator, right? Now, the problem with that though is that you don't always have a high rate of success if you just go to an advertising agency to do your brand. Secondly, is if you look at all the marketing out there right now. Now, look, the whole ClickFunnels community, and not just ClickFunnels, but the whole online marketer community did a huge service to humanity because they showed people a way where they can actually create financial freedom without a lot of effort in terms of, okay, there's a lot of effort and work gone into it, but there wasn't a high level of branding required there. Now, though, there's so many people basically doing this that the internet is littered with that. So how do you stand out, right? And if you go to an advertising agency to create a brand for you, right, to do a custom logo, to do all that, that's all great. But in my and my partner's 27 years of experience for doing marketing for brands like I mentioned, and also my partner's done marketing for Coca-Cola, for Dove, and for some other really, really big brands, Porsche, we noticed that what's interesting is beyond tactics and budgets, what makes a campaign successful is actually how much it aligned with the real beliefs of the people in charge of that. And what I mean by this, right? You can tell when a campaign's done because some guy in a marketing office wanted to keep his job and he has to make sure that he has his quarterly campaign done. And yes, he probably will get some results because he's got some budget, but conversions are terrible. The cost of advertising is quite high compared to that ad where there is a truth that confronts people, and that truth makes people stop and watch. And then beyond that, the work that continues from that, right, from the people who are advertising, and sales is a transference of belief, George, at the end of the day, right? So how do you have that transference of belief at that level, and then it falls and it filters through all the other work in the campaign that gets created. Now the problem though is, what me and my partner identified is, you have advertising agencies that show you how to market, you have marketeers that also show you how to market, right? But you don't have people that understand how to identify and help you become more authentic, right? Authenticity is the problem. And even business coaches will tell you, find your life purpose. But how do you know that your life purpose is authentically what you really want to do, right? If you look at my example, it was almost there with the coaching, but it wasn't fully there, right? It was just another step along the way, which is totally fine, by the way. Wherever you are is absolutely perfect. Just keep going. So the problem then is, how do you solve authenticity? And authenticity is in the realm of the artist. And this is where our method that we've developed includes, how do you get in touch with your intuition? How do you start? I think that might be mine. Just a second. Let me close that.
That's an intuition for something.
Okay, just a second. Yes. So how do you get in touch with your intuition to make the choices to create what is authentically you? Because when you create what is authentically you, by definition, you are infusing it with your pure beliefs, your pure authentic expression. And more than that, what happens is this beautiful symbiosis, because you're creating this brand from a place of absolute excitement, joy, whatever is uniquely you. But then this brand, once you put it out in the world, starts to reflect that back to you. And it starts to pull you to more inspired action, to more deeper realizations, to more grandeur and exciting visions and plans. And so it's this constant communication with your creation that you've now created. Now, when you start creating from that place, you become magnetic as a result. Your words become magnetic. You can say the same words as the person next to you, but because they're spoken from your place of authenticity, and you have action backing it up and constantly reconfirming, and you're taking bold steps in action, then you create a magnetism around your words and around your message. Now, the third component, so we've covered how to get authenticity into your brand. And then from that brand, now you have the offer, right? So the offer is the business side of things, is how you make the sales. Okay, so we're business people here. We want to know how to make some sales.
True.
And here I borrow from Russell Brunson, genius, by the way. You guys have to read Expert Secrets and all of Russell Brunson's books. But Russell studied what creates a movement. He studied Christianity. He studied Nazism. He studied all the different varied good and bad movements, how you would judge them. And he noted that there's three main factors that create a movement. An authentic leader. Well, we've covered the authentic leader. That's what we do with the intuition part. How do you become an authentic leader? A purpose-based cause, a cause that's bigger than the material desires that we've talked about, right? Because we are driven by, that's the exciting part. Everyone has these ideals that they strive for, right? Capitalism is the right to have as many resources, utility as you want in a free manner, to vote. So it's an ideal, basically, right? And then thirdly is we call it your new model switch, okay? This is the vehicle that allows you to obtain the promise. So if we look at Christianity, you had Jesus. The promise was we can have um a world based on better values, and we can treat each other like neighbors rather than having this power hungry structure. And if we do that, we can go to heaven, right? We could be welcomed by the Heavenly Father and live in heaven. And that's the promise. And the vehicle is the Bible. So if you follow the Bible, then you will obtain the promise. Okay. So in terms of marketing, this is fascinating, but that means that in your creation of your authentic brand, you're also at the same time figuring out what your real life purpose is. And this is where the magic happens, because George, this is the most fascinating part that I realized is every one of us actually, if they dare to go that deep or dare to dream that high and they dare to do that work that we talked about, which is not always comfortable, it's not only visioning, it means confronting your deepest fears, right? Your deepest worries about, will people accept me if I put out this crazy message? And I'm pretty sure, and I hope people find that this message is a little crazy too. That means I'm doing my job for myself.
True.
But what happens is when you do that work and you do the internal work to let go of judgment, to start healing yourself, right? You then start to realize that your journey, in fact, is not entirely uniquely yours. When you said, for example, in the beginning of the podcast, that it's so great to see other people talking about conscious entrepreneurship, it's no coincidence, because what's happening around the world is that people are, let's say because of the times, connecting and resonating with these new truths that are coming out. Truths such as, for example, we cannot live in a purely consumer society any longer. We cannot have a society that is void of meaning, right? So that's, for me, the beautiful part of this is that you can start to see the patterns in society and you can start to name that cause. You don't create the cause, actually. You're naming the pattern. You're seeing the pattern because the pattern reflects your own pattern, your own life. And how do you associate that with that? So when you have all those together, you have a very, very magnetic offer. And when I say magnetic, this is the beautiful part of it, George. My biggest concern in my previous business was being treated unfairly by toxic clients. Now, I realize now that there's no such thing as victims. I had created that situation because I had at many moments, like you said, there were many decisions where I chose lack of integrity. I chose to say yes to the money only. I chose to say yes to take care of my team, right? Because I was worried about my team. But in the process, I kept losing myself. This is the opposite. You're
We
building your.
yeah, we get those. We get those evils sometimes from time to time. So we have to deal with them.
Yeah, well, that's for me. My way of dealing with that is build a message that is 100% aligned with your truth. And when you speak from that truth, you start to become magnetic and you start to resonate from the values that are uniquely you. And you start beaming a light in all this noise and all this chaos and all this darkness for people who resonate with what you want to say to come into your world. And then you start to attract great clients, great experiences. I had basically, as one of my values, written, and this is what we do with our clients, we literally write, how do you want your clients to pay you? What is their relationship with money with you? Because why not? You know? And I wrote, I want my clients to recognize my value and pay me more than I asked. And I had an experience where I was asked to do some consulting on behalf of the World Bank. And I literally had no idea what to charge. I asked for something and they gave me 3 times more. It's that powerful, right? Because you're resonating from that place. You're acting in congruence with that place. You have integrity. And so people see that. And that's what the world is really starved for today. They're starved for authentic leaders, not politicians, not corporates who are playing homage to CSR and all that kind of stuff. They want real people right now, right? So it's the best time in history for you to be absolutely 100% uniquely you.
That's excellent. Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely. Like we surpassed like 150 minutes in the lives. I don't want to take more of your time. I know I really appreciate taking your time and sharing all the knowledge or the wisdom that you have accumulated throughout those years. But how people they can connect with you, they can follow you, and also what about your program, how they can join? Is there a link you can share?
Sure, sure. So first and foremost, I would really encourage people to come check out, who are interested in these values, who are interested in this journey, and who have the same daring, secret desires to make an impact in the world today, to come join our community on Facebook. It's a group called Renaissance, just like the normal spelling of Renaissance, 2.0, so II.0. And that's our community where um, other entrepreneurs with similar interests who are interested in growing both conscientiously, but also in their impact and in their business altogether. Yeah. You can share ideas, you can be supported, and you can learn from other entrepreneurs in that journey. We have some incredible people in there in that community. It was recently launched. It's a small community right now, but we're having very intense and intimate conversations. One example is this human that I absolutely adore, and he's an amazing individual. He's the guy that introduced me to mindfulness, and he runs one of the first schools in Romania where mindfulness and emotional intelligence is part of the standard curriculum for kids.
Oh,
And he's gotten it to a level where now he's about to build his third campus. And at the same time, he has a foundation where he is also then teaching that knowledge to teachers around Romania for free, right? So he has profit, and with that profit, he creates impact.
okay.
And he has a beautiful message, and he's changing the narrative. So that's the community. And for my specific program, I am looking specifically for entrepreneurs, coaches, and experts who are, let's say, have a successful offer or business. So I'm not looking right now. Maybe later down the line, I will look at people who are more in the beginning of their journey. If you're in the beginning of the journey, come join the group. And also, I know, George, you have some products and services which are amazing for people at that stage, and I know you also have on the next stage too. But I'm looking for people who already are comfortable with the idea that they are ready to take 100% responsibility. They know that they are the source of all their success, and that when they have their mindset aligned, their heart set, their soul set aligned, they know that the results are incredible, magnificent, and quantum, like you say. And for those people, we have a 90-day program and a 6-month program where we literally reconstruct your brand from the ground up. You can, if you want to maintain your current brand or business, that's fine, and you want to do a new one, or you're tired with it and you want to reintroduce something else. And the aim of the program is we help you start attracting high resonance clients that resonate, as we described earlier, right, with your highest values, your highest expression, because of helping you launch your legacy brand and your highest expression platform, that thing that beams the light, that attracts these high resonance clients, and that you can start charging also a lot more, meaning our minimum ticket that we help our clients charge is 15K, 50K, 100K, and above. And what we do is we help them identify these high resonance clients. We help them create the brand and the marketing that allows them to communicate 100% aligned with their own values and truth. And then the results become a lot easier too. So if you already have an existing business, and I'm sure that within that business, there is a segment of your audience that are really hungry to pay for exactly an intimate, unique service by you at those kind of levels, where the results are going to be incredibly easy and transformative because they also think on that same level as you and they resonate with the same values. So we're catering to that. And the last component of it is that we use the foundations of marketing and all that, but we don't want you to use just existing scripts and marketing, right? We want you to use or infuse all your marketing with what is uniquely you. So everything is custom. It's a high touch service. In the 3 months to 6 months that we work together, depending on which version of the program you want to go into, but we spend a lot of personal time. We get to know your ins and outs, your deepest fears. We help you get in touch with your intuition, and we build a brand up from that place. We build all your marketing from that place so that everything is uniquely aligned to you. And that means you are literally stepping into your highest expression, your place of highest joy, your highest transformation, and your boldest action and vision. So that's the program. And people
That's
can find
amazing.
it on our website. I'll drop a link on our website. They can have a look there.
Excellent. And in the comment section, and maybe I will add that also to the description so people they can find the links that for the Facebook group and also for the program that you have. So that's amazing. I don't want that to end, but at some point we have to wrap up for today. What is the one thing that you want to leave people with, to maybe to apply, to think about it? Maybe I would say until next time, I want to come back to those kind of discussions with you. So what is the one thing that you leave people with today?
What I will say is, in your truth, the world is reborn.
And you're through with the word.
What
That's
I mean, what go ahead, George. What did you want to
no, I'm
say?
just saying that I want to. Yeah, I'm just processing, and I love the quote. I said like I'm going to put that quote sometimes today on on my social media.
Yeah, what I mean by that is, if you look at the state of the world today, there is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of feeling of victimhood, like we've been cheated, we're not being told the truth, all those kind of things.
It's a blaming
And
always.
yeah, and what that really points to is the fact that we are just going through a shift in the constructs and the modes of being that we've been accustomed through so far. That's why it feels so chaotic. That's why it feels so so broken and apart.
Separated. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Separate is the word. But just remember that it's just a phase, and we're just going through a process of reevaluating what is true to us now, because what has been true so far is no longer true. And the world is calling right now for people to step into their truths, to live their authentic lives, and why not to experience all the joy that they can, the bliss that they can, the abundance that they can right now, because that will set an example for others. And that's how, if we each do that and we dare to do that, then yes, the world can actually be reborn, and it's going through the process anyway. So you're just here to help move that along.
We create that new movement. That's amazing. So thank you so much, Colin, and thanks for everybody who tuned in. And also, if you are watching this replay later on, if you have any question for Colin, just put that in the comment section. I will monitor it, and then I will share it with Colin, and we come back with answers or more explanation about the question, the challenge, or even the comment that you may have about the content of this episode. Thank you so much, Colin, and thank you everyone. And I wish you a great weekend, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, George. Keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing, and we have so many similarities in what our mission is about. And for all of George's audience, I would say take his advice. It is really, really gold. It's dynamite. You will see incredible transformation really, really fast, and you will get to experience a whole new level of life that you didn't know exists before.
Thank you so much.